Zimmerman here, as you can see there on the screen. This is the 45th edition of In the Zone, and across from me is Mr. Kirk Grzelka. Welcome, Kirk.
Thank you.
I got the pronunciation correct?
You did.
Okay, we started off good. So as I referred to you, Kirk, you're sort of like the Wizard of Oz of East China schools, right?
In a matter of speaking.
In a matter of speaking. So I say that only because a lot of people, they may have seen you once or twice, but they don't know exactly maybe what you do or who does what you do and different things like that. So you're the Director of Operations for East China Schools.
Correct.
And tell us from that standpoint what you do. I know what you do, but...
So as the Director of Operations, I'm in charge of all the departments that fall under the operations classifications, which include custodial, the grounds, all of the maintenance activities, and currently construction.
So all the buildings.
Of all the buildings in the school district.
Which,
right.
How many buildings?
Well, it's about 9.
Okay.
You know, it's hard. It depends if you count the stadium outbuildings and
Right.
stuff, but 9 substantial buildings.
And you know, that is a substantial thing. And you know, when I initially talked to you about coming in to talk to us, I find it fascinating because nobody really pays much attention when you talk about the public about what goes on in 9 facilities or 10 facilities.
Yeah.
There's a lot of everything.
Yeah, it's hundreds of thousands of square feet.
Right. And you're talking about buildings that are at the youngest 20, 25 years old.
Correct.
To the oldest that might be 60 years old.
Yeah, very close, yeah.
So we're talking about roofs, we're talking about boilers, you're talking about some cases heating, air conditioning, some cases changing a facility and taking a baseball field and moving it somewhere else. And
it's all encompassing. You know, you've got the building envelopes, floors, windows, you've got the mechanical systems, you know, you've got grounds. We take care of quite a few athletic fields that are
Right.
a lot of work, you know, so
Yep.
all of that in a district this size it's a lot, yeah.
It's a monumental task. So tell me where you were born and raised.
So I was born in Harper Woods, Michigan,
Oh, okay.
and I was raised there from the time I was born all the way till I graduated high school. I lived in Harper Woods, Michigan.
Okay. Which high school did you go to?
Graduated from Harper Woods High School.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a small town, about 1 square mile.
Yep.
And they had 1 elementary school, 1 middle school, and 1 high school. And I believe my graduating class was around 69 people.
Wow. Who'd have thunk it, right?
Yeah.
You know, Harper Woods is one of those communities. I mean, just thinking about it, it's surrounded by the Grosse Pointes, Detroit,
Yeah.
St. Clair Shores, depending
Point,
which
yeah.
East Point where you go on the scale. But it's, you know, for some people that don't know, it's I-94 and 8 Mile.
Correct.
Basically,
Yeah.
between 7 and 8.
Between 7 and 8, between Kelly and just east of 94. Yeah.
Yeah. And not to get off track, but I think they just built a new school.
They did. The high school that I actually went to does no longer exist. The
Yeah.
football field now sits where the high school was, and the new high school is now where the football field
Right.
used to be.
And a lot of people don't. A lot of people I know. I did a lot of work in the city, so I know where some of these boundaries tend to be. But a lot of people don't realize. People think, well, it's west of the freeway, and Harper Woods goes east of the freeway.
Yes.
About
a
half
number
a
of
dozen
blocks.
blocks.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, it does.
So it's very interesting. I mean, you could be in 1 block and be in Harper Woods, and a block and a half away is Grosse Pointe.
That's correct.
So
yeah.
it's interesting down there.
Yeah.
So you went to Harper Woods High. What year did you graduate?
Graduated in 1987.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you decided to go to college.
I did. I started out going to Macomb Community College. I was going to school part-time at night while I was working full-time during the day in a steel fabrication shop. And then after a few years of going part-time at night, I saved up money, and then I went away to Central Michigan University to go full-time.
Okay.
I started Central Michigan University in '92, and I graduated with my bachelor's degree in '95.
What did you graduate? What type of degree?
That was industrial supervision and management.
Okay.
And then one of my professors offered me a position as a graduate teaching assistant to continue to go to school for my master's degree. So I worked in the industrial technology department as a graduate teaching assistant, taught some classes in some labs, and I stayed there for 2 more years and got my master's degree, which is in industrial management and technology, and I had a minor in robotics.
Okay. That's pretty far-reaching and encompassing.
It is,
Yeah.
yeah.
So then you went to work where right out of college?
So right out of college, I went to work for General Motors.
I think I've heard of that company.
Yeah, yeah, they were the best offer that I had coming out of college. So I went to work at the Saginaw Steering Gear facility, which is right at 46 and I-75.
Yeah.
As you're going up north, you can see all those plants
Yep.
on the right side of the expressway, the east side of the expressway there. And I worked at Plant 7. That facility is quite expansive. It has its own power generation plant, its own water treatment facility, number of plants on site. Tens of thousands of workers were there at the time when I hired in there. I hired in as a production supervisor with the goal of becoming a skilled trade supervisor with my background. And after a couple of years of being on the production side of it, then I moved into the skilled trade side of it. And I was a skilled trade supervisor there for the remaining 9 years that I worked at General Motors. So I was there like 11 and a half years total.
Now, when you say skilled trades in an automotive manufacturing facility, give me an idea of some of the skilled trades that would be in a facility like that.
Yeah, so as a skilled trades supervisor, you have a number of different trades underneath you, including electricians, machine repairmen, millwrights, tinsmiths, plumbers.
What is a millwright?
A millwright is somebody that works on moving heavy equipment and doing rigging.
Okay.
They work on a lot of conveyors. They do a lot of welding, a lot of lifting with cranes and that type of thing.
Okay.
It's a pretty specialized trade within the automotive industry and other industries.
So a facility that size, like you say, probably thousands of employees?
Yes, for sure. Tens of thousands.
Tens of thousands.
Yeah.
So you stayed there for umpteen years, you mentioned, and then from there, where did you go?
So from there, I went to the Flint Community School District as a director of operations.
So similar type thing that you're doing now?
Yes, yeah, exactly the same. The same departments worked underneath me in that school district as which I have now in this school district.
Okay. And like we talked earlier, I said, how long have you been in East China? I know it's been a while, and I said, what, 4 or 5 years? And it always ends up being more. It's how many years?
Yeah, so it's about 8.5 years. I hired in the spring of 2014.
Okay. So tell me on a daily basis, what's half a dozen things that are on your plate for a daily basis?
Well, definitely managing and prioritizing the work order system as people submit work requests throughout the district. I'm constantly monitoring that and prioritizing my guys so they're working on the most important things that they should be working on.
Okay.
I help with ordering parts. I work on the electronic control system that's online that controls the HVAC systems in the buildings, so I'm monitoring what's going on in the buildings as far as temperatures and boilers, conditions of boilers running, circulating pumps, all those types of things.
Now, is that something that would be electronic enough that your, say, iPhone has listings of different schools or not?
I do have the ability to do some of it remotely.
Okay.
The program is a little bit too complicated to do on the phone.
Okay.
But I can access it on a tablet or a laptop remotely and look into most of the buildings. When the bond is completed, it will be all the buildings.
I would think so with the advancement of technology, right?
Yeah, I have it included in the scope of work to finish getting the rest of the missing parts on the online control system for me. Okay.
So you've got a lot, it's like balancing act. You've got a bunch of things in the air that are going on at any given time. We talked earlier about the bond passing, so you've got a lot of things going on, not just your general scope of keeping things running, but you're building some new stuff.
Right.
So tell me about what you got building.
So we're just now coming to the end of completion of the new Innovation Center located at the Meisner Road site. Yep. That is about 95% complete. And that was very exciting because that was the first new building in the school district in over 20 years.
Right.
Pretty substantial in size. I believe it's over 60,000 square feet, the Innovation Center itself. We also put an addition on the Early Childhood Center.
Yep.
We added another 4 additional classrooms to that, along with doing the remodeling. So, very exciting project, you know, to see it from moving the earth, breaking
Yeah.
ground, the beginning, to all the way now where we're at, moving furniture in and
Sure.
completing finishing touches. So, the first of many projects for the bond, but a very large and very exciting one, which is now nearing completion.
Do they have a date as far as when the first students will be in there in classrooms yet? or-
I think their intent is to hopefully use it for some things coming up very soon.
Okay.
But it's my understanding that the first scheduled regular class is going to be in there next fall.
Next fall?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
There's a lot of programming involved,
Oh, yeah.
which I don't understand, but
Right.
there's a lot that they have to do to be prepared to run, you know, a combined facility like that.
Scheduling and
Yeah.
different people at different times and everything else.
Mhm.
So then you've got things going on at the north and south end of the district. I know that I've seen some stuff going on or heard of some things at Marine City High, St. Clair High. Explain that a little bit.
Yeah, so right now we have a new gymnasium going up at St. Clair High School. Most of the summer we spent doing the underground work, which includes stormwater systems, sanitary, plumbing systems, underground power conduit, putting in footings,
Right.
preparing the site for actually the raising of the building. We spent most of the summer doing that. Right now, if you go by there, you can see that there's a substantial amount of exterior building envelope up. We've got 3 of the very tall, I believe they're 35-foot high cinder block walls up.
Okay.
Just a couple weeks ago, I took some pictures of the first steel trusses being put up across the top of the cinder block walls. They'll be pretty close to completion of the structural steel very soon.
Okay.
And then we'll start decking the roof, putting the steel decking on top of the steel structure, and then getting the roofing material on top of that.
Okay.
Now, our goal is to try to get the building envelope closed in enough
For winter.
for winter, so we can, you know, do some temporary heating and continue construction of that new gymnasium throughout the winter.
Okay. So just to touch base so people know what we're talking about, the St. Clair facility is going to be a St. Clair High School and middle school at the one building, correct?
Correct.
And the reason for needing a gym simply is because the addition of the middle school needing a gym along with the high school, so you're not running a gym till midnight.
Yeah, exactly. With the addition of, you know, a complete 612 campus, the amount of sports and practices and everything
Right.
else that need to take place at that site absolutely required 2 full-size
Yeah.
competition gyms.
So they will have a new competition gym, which will be probably the new, say, I'll call it varsity gym. Yeah, obviously JV plays there too in ninth
Most
grade.
likely, yeah.
And then the old current gym will be a middle school gym.
Yeah, most likely. I mean, they
Okay.
could schedule it either way, but certainly they'll be, you know, occupying one or the other
Yep.
for the most part.
And then you've got the aux gym, which they've had for years.
Yes, and then there's an auxiliary gym.
Yep.
yeah.
So then you've got St. Clair Middle is now going to be am I correct in saying the lone elementary school in St. Clair?
No, I think the
2?
correct term would be that it's going to become the St. Clair Elementary School.
Okay.
I believe that's what the intent is, for it to be called St. Clair Elementary right now.
Yep.
But Pine River will still be
Okay.
used in a second elementary school for the north area.
Okay. So 2 schools, technically speaking, take place of 4 schools years ago.
Yes.
Because of declining enrollment.
Correct.
Okay. So then we've got down at the south end of the district, Marine City High is going to be Marine City High / middle school, which the
Yeah.
middle school is there now.
Right.
And as I said to you, some people, and myself included, even in my mind, I go, well, Marine City Middle School is not that old. Well, and part of that comes from, I was one of the first classes in it. I'm going to be 60, and I was, approximately 13 when you move into a middle school.
Yeah.
So that's pretty easy to figure out. That's about 45, 47 years old, the middle school is. So it's not so new. And with shrinking numbers, you don't need as many classrooms. And then I'll say, and part of that building, because you don't need as many classrooms, has a sinking problem?
Yes, there's a structural foundation issue with some of the north, or actually it would be the southwest wing
Yep.
of the middle school.
So that'll be,
It had a repair done on it many years ago, which is also sinking, and
Right.
so it certainly makes the most sense that with downsizing the school to make it an appropriate size for the number of students that are going to be at that site, it makes the most sense for that part of the building to be reduced.
so is it one or two of the wings going to be cut off?
It's two of them.
Two, yeah.
Yeah.
So the one to the west and the one to the south.
Yes.
Okay. And then you're changing some stuff around, I know, for like offices and stuff, but I don't know what else is changing down there.
So the other part at the Marine City site that's changing is the main office is getting relocated to the north side of the building where that horseshoe drive,
Yep.
drive is off of Ward Street. So we're going to create a new secure entrance, which is kind of like people come into a portico, they have
Yep.
to get buzzed into the office and get through clearance before they're allowed into the building. It's a secured entrance that's pretty much being built at all schools, you know.
So is that going to be built in where there's current space now or outside of the building envelope?
In the current space.
Okay. So in the
Yeah.
vestibule or in
No, the vestibule will be the new secure entryway.
Okay.
But all the offices will be located directly east of that
Okay.
vestibule.
Okay.
So you will have to come into that vestibule, go into the office to the east, and get your clearance before you'll be able to come into the building.
Sure. And that's another thing that people don't realize with buildings the age that they are. And they were, Marine City High School, I think, was built in the 50s, I believe, somewhere in the late 50s. And it was a different school, and it had two less wings, and it didn't have an aux gym, and it didn't have a pool. So when they added on the back side of the building, you have people coming in the back side, people coming in at the horseshoe. It's,
Yeah,
so there's a lot of things to rewrite and make them correct for today's school.
that's right. Yeah, and a lot of the things that we have to deal with today it wasn't really
Wasn't there 60
in
years ago.
consideration 60 years ago.
Yep.
So we're doing our best working with the architects and engineers to make things the best we can for today's world,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
the needs of today.
So then there's no need to even think that there isn't much going on with your position. You're busy every day.
Yes, very, very busy. We have bond meetings every week. We have, constant construction that's ongoing. The superintendent for AUK, George W. AUK Construction, that's on site, is working with me on a daily basis. Confirming what we want done from the school district's behalf, and things come up. No matter how much time you put into engineering, architects and engineering doing planning, you always have things that things that have to be decided as construction is being done. So it's constant, and it's a lot of work. But,
Sure.
But it's exciting. We're making the district better. We're improving things. It's exciting for me because I know as these necessary improvements take place, it makes it easier for me to do my job, and it allows me to become more proactive
Sure.
instead of reactive.
Well, I think of like when I met you 8 years ago, the first place I would have met you was the stadium. And you look at the changes even at East China Stadium in the last 8 years. I mean, we've gone through and they've grassed it with new artificial turf.
We installed new turf.
New
yeah.
turf, which that is a whole project, a whole summer in and of itself.
It was, yeah. That was a whole summer. That was one of the first big projects I did when I got here.
Okay. And then new scoreboard. And a new scoreboard, it's not a big thing, but people don't realize age. That was literally being piecemealed together last year or two.
It was, yeah. And I hate to speak for Craig, but
Yeah.
I know for a fact that the parts were unavailable, and he literally would have to go on to eBay
Find
and
something.
try to find some old part to get
Yeah.
it back working again. So we were fortunate to keep it going
As long as you did.
long as we did
Yeah.
until we got new. But
Yeah. And then so we got the new scoreboard. New scoreboard can be now manned from a laptop, which you can change. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
the sound system is unbelievable.
yeah. So but it's stuff that technology today, you need that. I mean,
Yeah.
it certainly needs it. And we've upgraded the facilities there as far as the locker rooms a little bit, the concession stands a little bit. And it's always a moving target because of age in buildings.
Sure. Yeah.
But I find it interesting that, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of people have no idea what facilities encompasses, and there's a lot.
There's a lot.
There's a roof on every building.
Yeah.
There's water in every building. There's sewer in every building. There's windows in every building.
Yeah.
There's
Stormwater. Yeah.
stormwater, heating and cooling,
Yeah.
leaky windows, leaky, different things on the roof. And then also, you've got technology today that wasn't around back when it was built.
That's right. It
So-
blends into it. Yeah.
And I'm guessing that, okay, in your 8 years at East China, the technology's changed in 8 years.
Oh yeah.
I think probably 8-10 years ago, you probably did not have wireless much, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, certainly the technology director would be able to give you a lot of insight in that. But even in my field of facilities and operations, the technology has evolved to help us do a better job. The fact that I can access the building controls online at my house in the middle of a snowstorm,
Right.
and make sure that nothing is going to freeze up the building and prevent school from taking place next week.
You can look at your screen and go, okay, it's 65 degrees, let's kick it up to 68.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, I sleep better at night when I can check the buildings and know that they're okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's next on the horizon as far as the construction? Did we talk about everything as far as what's going on?
So, immediately what's next is completing the gymnasium at St. Clair High School. We're also in the process of doing the design and development for the two 612 building remodels.
Okay.
We're getting pretty soon. We're getting ready to bid out the Marine City remodel
For Bell
project
River?
first.
For Bell River?
No, the Marine City High School.
Okay.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
the Marine
Right.
City High School project first,
Okay.
and then shortly after it will be the St. Clair High School project.
Okay. When do you foresee like an end date of getting all this bond stuff completed? Is it a couple more years?
Yeah, it's at least a few more years.
Okay.
It's kind of a fluid thing right now because, what we had planned from the very beginning, no one knew what would happen, right? And
Right.
so now with the supply chain, difficulties and delays
Yes.
and manpower issues and all the other kinds of things, I think we're in a very good place compared to what we had planned.
Sure.
Certainly, we're not exactly where we wanted to be yet, but considering the current conditions out there in the field and in the industry, I think we're doing very well as far as, staying close to our timelines.
Sure. Okay. Appreciate you coming by. I think we got most of the things covered.
Sure.
Thanks for coming by. It's always good to see you, see you at the stadium or wherever. But,
Yeah, it's good to see you too.
Some people can put a face with with what's going on at the district now. They know Kirk's the guy. So they see you, they know what your position is.
All right. Well, thanks very much for having me.
Have a good Thanksgiving, and we'll catch you next time. My phone number's up there in case somebody wants to, we'll call it nominate, suggest the next interview here. So in the zone, 586-707-5811. Until next time, goodbye.